Hello everyone and welcome back to Little Quilter. Today we're going to be doing the very last block because it's a pretty fast block for the NorthWest quilt, and then I'm going to be ready to lay everything out and see how this big old quilt comes together and hopefully get it all pieced so that it will actually be a finished quilt top. And of course, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because, like you guys know, some of the big blocks are about 1/4 of an inch small all the way around, and we'll see how this block comes out. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Okay, everybody, we did it. The final piece is completed, and this came out so easy. So easy to do. I don't know that these are exactly 100% perfect, but whenever I cut them down, that part was really nice because there was a good bit of cut down, so these all came out to perfect size easily. It is an interesting idea, just having this block itself, even if you did it like on point like this. I think this would look really pretty in laundry basket fabrics and doing just different squares of this. I know like I need another laundry basket fabrics quilt project, but I have a lot of fabric of it, so if you're looking for an idea to use your scraps, I think this would be really fun and easy, and you could tie it all together with a consistent background color. I think it would look really cool, and you could decide how big you wanted it to be based on whatever size you want it, because you're just making a square, basically, over and over again. Not anything too dramatically exciting, but I think this could turn out really cool looking. So now we're going to take these and the rest of the blocks, and we're going to lay this out and see what it looks like. So let's do it. Okay, now that you guys can see my dirty floor and pile of fabric, let's go ahead and lay this out. We're going to get all our pieces. Okay guys, we've kind of run into a problem in that this quilt is way bigger than I thought it was, and I'm running out of room. But this is what it's looking like laid out, which is, I mean, it's just so awesome. I think it even looks better actually on camera because you can kind of see it all sort of from afar, whereas I feel like I just am so up close having a hard time focusing on what part I want to look at. So really excited by this, but I don't think that I can lay it out like I normally do for a quilt because it's just so big. I don't have a wide enough space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do that first row and just sew it across, and then go to the next row, lay it out and sew it across. And that way my pieces don't get jumbled, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to finish piecing this quilt top tonight. But I do want to get started because I'm just really excited to see this whole quilt top come together. And I mean, look how awesome that is. It's so cool. Especially with how much I felt like I struggled with this quilt, and just that my piecing was not perfect and that my lines were not 100%. And I mean, no, it's, you know, still in pieces on the floor, so it may not, you know, work out completely in the end, but to at least see that, you know, laying it out, it doesn't look terrible is a good step, and that is exciting. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this piece together. Okay, before I stop for the night, I just wanted to say I picked them all up. There just was not enough room on my floor to lay this quilt out and to work effectively at it, and it's definitely going to take some time to piece all of this together. I do have at least that very top border strip done, and I've got 2 blocks of the first real row of the quilt together, and it's coming together okay. Obviously there's a couple of things just because of the way that this quilt is pieced and how it's meant to kind of flow together, even though you're doing them in different blocks, and mine is not perfect. But even the author of the NorthWest quilt wrote in there, you know, not all of them are going to come together perfectly, but the overall flow and the overall design is going to be there, and I think that that's true. What I'm going to do is I've lined them up along my quilting frame of every single block that I need, and I'm just going to pick them up and do them sort of one at a time like that. I think it's a little bit more time consuming of an option, but I think it's going to help me to stay more consistent, and I can just mark that row off on my diagram and say, okay, I did that row, and move on to the next one, and then I'll have all of the rows to lay out and sew together and make that complete quilt. Now, the interesting part with this is I feel like a lot of times as you piece the sort of center block of the quilt, you do that and then you add on the border quilt, but the border of the quilt is being added on as we piece it, which is kind of cool. I've never done that before, unless I just didn't have a border on the quilt. So that part's kind of interesting. So yeah, I hope that you guys are enjoying this. I'm going to keep working on it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I just want to just show you guys how this block or row, more like it, is coming together. And so you can see that ideally these lines are supposed to come together, which this one's really good. This one is a smidge off up here, and then as we go across, it's not too terrible. You know, again, we're a little bit off worse down here, but the overall feel is still there. And when you're looking at this from afar, and once you have all of these out, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, because there's just so much going on in this quilt. There's so many spots to look at. Definitely going to have to do an all over pattern for this, because it will just be lost in the chaos of this quilt. But it's really cool to see this come together, and really cool to see these points on these bigger stars come together. That's really neat. All right, I believe I've got everything laid out here, which is super exciting. I do find it weird. I've got 3 of these left, and so I'm a little bit confused. I need to review because I don't know why I have 3 of these left. Did I miscount? That doesn't quite seem possible. Okay, I laid them out and I am missing something. So I've got the border fabric here, and then we've got the big block, little block, big block, little block, big block. We're missing a little block and a big block, and then the border fabric. But I've only got, oh, this one fell. Sorry, Kevo. I've only got these 3, and I've got these 2 here, but where are these at? I'm really not sure where those are at. Surely I didn't miscount all of these. Let me look. Okay, I retraced my steps. I had been sewing with some of them stacked up here, and so I did look behind here. This is a common place that everything likes to slide off into, but another spot is over here next to my trash can, and there they are. Aha! Okay, so crisis averted. Not quite done sewing all of them, so I'm going to do this last block and then I'll be able to start piecing the rest of this quilt all the way together, which is, as you guys know, super exciting. Ta-da! All right, everybody, I have finally finished this quilt top, and it's really hard to give you guys a view of the entire quilt because honestly, it's such a big quilt top. I don't think I realized how big this quilt top was, but I mean, I don't know why, because these blocks, like, they're huge, but I think it has turned out really, really nicely. I know some of it's a little bit wrinkled for you, but I think overall the feel of it is definitely there, and I'm so excited by that. You know, I was definitely worried about all of these parts just not, you know, exactly lining up. And to be honest, I kind of just gave up and said, you know what, I'm just going to quilt it and piece it together, and whatever comes out is what comes out. I did pin together these rows, so I pinned all of these rows together to make sure that they were lined up properly, but you know, I didn't get as detailed as they recommended in the instructions for like some of the parts. I just was like, I can't do that. That's too much. So, could it be better? Sure. Am I totally stoked with it? Yes, definitely. I think it's amazing. Definitely gonna have to do an all over pattern. Thinking of a pantograph, trying to come up with ideas. I was thinking maybe something that is a little bit more wavy, like feathers or something, just because there's so much hard edges in here. I thought maybe doing feathers would kind of allow an area of lightness to it. So you tell me, what pantograph would you guys be looking at doing? I don't want it to be too crazy because I am going to do the same thing that I did with the other pantographs, where I draw it and then come up to the front and quilt it. And so I think for me, those that are really geometric and really like have a lot of very consistent spacing of lines, I just don't think those look good if it's not done by a machine, and I am not a machine. I mean, maybe if I practice them more it would, but I feel like some of the more free-flowing designs just end up looking a lot better. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this process. It has been a process, totally, and definitely has been something that's very nerve-wracking since the beginning of this quilt, but we have trudged through, we have kept our chin up, we have kept going, and we have ended up with this gorgeous, gorgeous quilt design, and I do love it. So super excited about getting this one on the quilt frame. I also really need to get started on a Christmas quilt because, oh my gosh, it's really late in the season for me to be doing a Christmas quilt that I'm supposed to be done with. So yeah, we're gonna work on that too. So as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, all those YouTube things. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this process. Let me know in the comments down below what your pantograph design would be, and I will see you guys next time on the Little Quilter. Thanks.